Welcome back to NFL Kings. On today's podcast, we're going to be diving into the Week 5 matchups. I'm going to start with the Falcons and Panthers today, and we're going to break through all of Sunday's games for the Week 5 slate. So to start off here, we're going to take a quick gander. Obviously, this is playing in Atlanta, so that'll be in a dome. Weather won't be a factor. Looking at the injury report, really isn't much there. We have Eli Apple and for the Panthers out, Hawkins out, and Julio Jones is a game time decision. We won't know whether he will play until quite possibly a couple hours before kickoff. So take that into account when you do make your lineups and or bets tomorrow. That will definitely change things. Obviously, he's a big impact player for them, but they are expected to have Ridley, expected to have Gage. They should still have majority of their weapons. If you'll notice, as we scroll down here, they're very even teams. To me, I think they had the line at -2 for Atlanta right now. But in all honesty, this is essentially a pick'em game for a lot of people. The numbers really, I think our numbers have it at 1.5 for Atlanta. So it's very, very, very tight. It looks like, just taking a quick gander. So looks like 33% of the cash is on Carolina, 67% on Atlanta. However, tickets are basically even. But looks like a little bit more of the money for the spread is being bet on Atlanta. And then as far as the money line, nearly 87% of the cash is being bet on Atlanta. They clearly think that they are the better team. And I mean, it's kind of tough because Carolina has played really well the last couple of weeks, better than I was expecting even. Derek Brown had a great game last week. He's getting better every week. The run defense early on was horrendous, but has definitely improved. As you can kind of see in the numbers here, looks like we've got kind of a little bit of I would say just a little bit surprising to see, but pretty much even as far as total yards. You got 403, 413. Atlanta can't guard the pass because, well, they have new corners they're breaking in, and they're just not that good, to be honest, unfortunately. So the teams are attacking their corners, and they've also played some good teams early on. Obviously, Green Bay, Chicago, Dallas, Seattle. I mean, 3 of those teams are really good offenses. If you haven't figured it out, that's Chicago's horrendous, and Chicago scored 30 on them. So that's pretty bad. If you kind of feel bad for the Falcons in a lot of ways, but it's just their coaching staff definitely is on the hot seat this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina does beat them, if they do potentially move in a different direction, although Arthur Blank is very much an owner that doesn't want to fire his coach during the season, so I would be a little bit surprised if he did pull the trigger at any point during the season. I feel like he's going to let Quinn at least finish out the season, barring something crazy happening, because they've been pretty decent. It's just getting absolutely annihilated by the Green Bay Packers in that last week. I mean, that really wasn't a close game, and they didn't have any of their weapons in Green Bay. I mean, they just got blown off the field, really. It was not close, folks. That's what really kind of worries me when you compare that with what Carolina has done the last 2 weeks in outplaying both the Chargers and Arizona. I mean, they pretty much dominated for the most part, that Arizona team. Although Arizona's a little bit overrated, I believe. They're kind of reeling a little bit from the previous weeks. Kyler Murray's not playing that well. He's really struggling to throw the ball in the middle of the field. He pretty much can only throw on the wings, on the ends, the receivers. Really, really struggling to throw the ball in the middle of the field right now. Everything's kind of sailing on him. His accuracy is horrendous. I mean, even in their first 2 wins, he had like a 3 to 5 touchdown interception ratio. So yeah, Kyler's just not playing that good. So that's the only thing about that last win. I'm a little bit maybe not that great, but I think what we see with that 34-30 is I think that's where we're kind of seeing them. I think we see them very similar to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that's a very, very good indication of their ability. They're, I think, right on that kind of edge there. So that's kind of where I expect them. I do see this as a complete pick'em game. However, if you notice, Atlanta's defense is just so bad. So bad. And Carolina's only getting better. I way would rather... Who would you rather have, Joe Brady or Sarkisian? Joe Brady. So, I just like their coaching staff. Matt Rule is a way better coach. I'm sorry. It just seems already that he's been doing a much better job early on in the season than Quinn has. Just both managing the game, understanding what it takes to get the most out of his team, because he doesn't have that much talent. I mean, on paper, Atlanta has more talent, and that's, I think, why people are probably picking them. Because, I mean, what 0-4 team versus a 2-2 team should be a favorite? None. I mean, they're basically giving them because they're a home team, but if you'll notice, usually a team gets 3 points at home. They're only getting 2, which means they're basically favoring Carolina by 1. That's a little sketch, guys. I don't like any of that. I don't like any of that. Let's see. Looking down the list, just kind of going through real quick, seeing if I see anything that's gonna have any impacts. I'm not really seeing anything major. Okay, so I'm gonna look at the overall matchups right now. Just kind of doing a breakdown. Gosh, their offensive line for Carolina is just horrendous. Ugh. I mean, basically everybody is grading as replacement level players. Little is gonna have to start. Oh God, that's got to be horrendous. At left tackle, luckily Atlanta has no pass rush at all. No, none at all. I mean, Dante Fowler's right now grading as the 3rd worst edge defender in the league with how much they're paying him. That's horrendous. Grady Jarrett is a beast up front, but that's against, I mean, he's going to go against Matt Paradis. I mean, they have some decent guards. They're not great. Reed and Miller, not great, but they're not, I mean, they're bad. But I don't think they're going to get absolutely annihilated by Grady Jarrett. They may struggle to run the ball, especially up the gut. But on the edge, I mean, let's be honest, folks. They have some major question marks. I do not like their pass rush. Their linebacker play has not been great. I mean, even Deion Jones, their best player, is not playing that great in comparison to previous seasons. He's definitely taking a step back. Obviously, he's coming off injury, so that could be partially at play there. If you look at their corners, I mean, it's horrendous, guys. It's horrendous how bad their corners are. I mean, they're playing actually. Personally, they're playing better than I even expected. But they're all replacement level. I mean, they are. Isaiah Oliver combined with AJ Terrell, I mean, they're just young, I mean, maybe a few years from now, maybe they can step up, but you're asking young corners to play against number 1 and number 2 receivers. It's like, I don't know. And to be honest, guys, Carolina has really good receivers. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are very good receivers, very good, definitely above average, and I would say definitely on par with what Atlanta has. I mean, if you look at the ratings are very similar, I would say. I mean, Ridley's obviously one of the highest rated, and then obviously Julio Jones as well. Hayden Hurst has not played well to start off the season. That's a little surprising. He did have a couple decent games, so. So that's where they're really struggling. It looks like guard play has been a little bit of an issue for Atlanta. And Alex Mack, man, he is taking a huge step back from what he used to be. I mean, he is getting up there in age, about to be 35 years old. I mean, I guess that makes sense. That's interesting. As far as the grades for Matt Ryan, nothing too crazy. I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary. Gurley's not having the greatest start to his season, but I don't expect much from him. Gosh, just looking at the matchups though, it's very, very interesting. I mean, you would probably give the edge to Atlanta's offensive line. They definitely have a little bit better offensive line. However, Carolina's defensive line is definitely better. And even though Kawan Shorts started the season off horrendously, he's been playing pretty decently the last couple of weeks. And Derek Brown started the season off horrible, and he's been playing great the last couple of weeks for them. So, between that, you got Brian Burns is one of the better edge defenders in the league right now, especially considering it is only his second season. He's coming out pretty strong to start the season. They do have major issues along the linebacker position. They've been missing tackles all year. Tahir Whitehead is beyond replacement level. Just looking at the secondary is a little bit better though than Atlanta's. I mean, Atlanta's is so bad. However, the safeties are pretty bad for Carolina. Have not really been making big plays. So that's why when you really look at the matchups, this is going to be a very intriguing game. It's going to come down to whether Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore can really get a lot of separation. Can they run the ball? I don't expect them to run the ball great. But, I mean, Atlanta's not awesome. 101 yards a game. They've clearly been giving up plenty of rushing yards, and really the only reason I think that number's lower is just because teams have had so much success throwing the ball on them, as they are one of the worst pass defenses in the entire league. Combine that with their rushing, I mean, it just doesn't look good. And if you look at the overall numbers too, I mean, yards given up, they've given up almost 100 more yards than Carolina. It's not like Carolina hasn't played decent offenses. I mean, Las Vegas got a pretty good offense. Tampa Bay's got a pretty good offense. Chargers, Herbert's looking pretty solid, and Arizona's got a pretty solid offense. I would say that Green Bay, Dallas, and Seattle are better, but Chicago's not. Chicago's worse than the other four teams that the Panthers have played. So, and they give up 30 to Chicago. So that's why, I mean, they've given up 30 in every game. 30, 30, 40, and 38. I mean, that is horrendous, folks. That is bad. I mean, can you combine that with, they score about 25 a game? Yeah, I mean, what's the over prop at? I need to look at that. Oh, let's see. So people have it at, we have it at 54 points. Okay, so it looks like they do imply just barely on the over. They do see that. I mean, 26 and 26, guys. Like, that's right there at 52. Just with their averages. You combine that with the fact that they're playing against worse defenses than they have in previous games. I mean, Chicago, Green Bay, Dallas, Seattle. I'd say Dallas and Seattle have a little bit. I mean, Dallas definitely has worse. I'd say Seattle, though, is very similar defense to this Carolina defense, statistically especially. However, I'd say Carolina definitely has a worse rush defense. Seattle likes to stack the box and then put their corners on an island in a way. I don't know why they've been doing that so much lately. But maybe it's just because they want to get the ball back for Russ. They don't want to get run Down all day. Force them to kind of make plays and stuff. Okay, so I'm kind of liking what I see. This is a tough pick. My early bets, I did take Carolina early when I believe it was at 3.5. Yeah, let's take a look at. I believe I did a couple early bets personally on Carolina early with the teaser odds. So I believe I got 9.5 with Carolina, which I think that's gonna hit more often than not. I mean, I think that's at least an 80% chance to hit with a 9.5 point spread going into this game on the teaser odds. I'd be really surprised if that doesn't hit. That's one of my favorite bets of the weekend, and obviously getting it at 2 or 2.5. That's just, I don't know. That's gonna be a little bit tough. 8.5. Anything over 7.5 though, that's still pretty damn good odds. And to get it at 8.5, I mean, yeah, it's looking like FanDuel's got it at 2.5 and 53.5, which I'm highly considering that over 53.5. I mean, we have it a full point above that. You combine that with, it looks like, however, the cash, wow, 80% of the tickets are on the over, but 60% of the cash is on the under. Really? Really interesting. Wow, they think for some reason it's only got about a little over 46% chance to cover the under. That's interesting. And 51.3. That's interesting. But this is obviously 53.5, so it's even better odds than that. Yeah, so those are some very intriguing odds there. You know, looking at the plays, both Carolina receivers should have decent days. I wouldn't be surprised if Bridgewater has a pretty decent day. Matt Ryan should have a pretty decent day going against a pretty lackluster secondary as well. Yeah, I see this as being one of the more higher scoring games of the week. These are two bad defenses. If Julio Jones plays, I would say Atlanta's probably more likely than not to win this game. 0-4, they kind of gave away a few games. Just talent-wise, they are the better team overall. However, coaching, I have to give the edge to Carolina. They've just been better this season. Their coaching staff has just been better. It's pretty obvious. So it just combines. Do you trust the coaching staff for Carolina more than you trust the overall players for Atlanta and the overall talent level? That's kind of where the kind of the crux comes in, and why I don't think I'm going to be kind of staying away from this game. As far as the straight bets, I think the only bet I think I would consider is the 9.5, or in this case it would be 8.5 for Carolina on the teaser. I think that's pretty much the only bet I feel comfortable making. Every other bet I feel like is a very, I don't want to say under 50, but definitely feels uncomfortable. Me personally, our numbers do lean toward the over here on this game. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, it is being played at a dome. The one thing is Atlanta does play Carolina really well. So that is definitely something we have to keep into mind. Matt Ryan has always played well, especially at home against the Panthers. So that's always something that we have to keep in mind. I mean, even when they went 15-1, the team that did beat them was the Atlanta Falcons, right? So they do play them tough. They do like this. I just would be really shocked if this did not come down to a one possession game, however, and that's the reason why I do like the 9.5. If you are going to take a bet on this game for that teaser and put it with a parlay. But I'm not really seeing too much as far as fantasy. Both fronts as far as the running backs could be kind of interesting. Gurley should have a decent day, but I wouldn't expect anything super special. Just because I do think that Carolina has done a decent job the last couple of weeks, at least, in kind of shoring up that run defense has been much better the last couple of weeks. So I think we'll just kind of have to see how it kind of plays out. But that is kind of a game I would mostly stay away from, other than the wide receivers. As more of dart plays. I wouldn't feel super confident in any one of the receivers outside of maybe Ridley. If Julio Jones doesn't play, that could be a potential cash game play. I think the rest would only be tournament plays in my eyes, so it just doesn't really bode toward. It is going to be one of the more high-scoring games, obviously, 53.5. Looks like it's going to be, like the third or fourth highest of the weekend. Those are all kind of things we have to kind of take into account. But me personally, I am definitely leaning towards the Falcons winning the game outright if you are going to bet straight along the money line. However, if you are looking to bet against the spread, I don't like 2.5. I don't like 2. If it was 3.5, I would take the Panthers. I don't like taking Atlanta at -2 either. So, like, if you're gonna take that, me personally, I would only take the money line off the Falcons, the over maybe off the 53.5, and maybe the teaser off the Panthers. That's probably how I would bet that. We're gonna kind of see tomorrow. Obviously, it may kind of be dictated. I think if Julio doesn't play, I'm gonna probably be firing the Panthers quite a bit. So we'll kind of have to see how that goes based upon tomorrow. So moving on to the Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, also in that 11 o'clock slate in Kansas City. Should be a beautiful day. Nice 85 degrees. No. Let's see. Looks like they have it at 55, and Kansas City's -11.5 right now. Interesting. All right, so I'm going to be loading up a couple things real quick. Let's see. So this will probably be the last podcast we do without a camera. Next week, we're going to be doing full filming and going to be doing these recordings a little bit more in depth and kind of getting you guys ready for these games. But it took a little bit too long on that last one, so we're gonna have to speed things up with the rest of these. All right, just loading this real quick. So it looks like with just looking at the betting stuff, so it looks like against the spread, it's pretty much even as far as the amount being bet. A little bit more of the tickets are on Kansas City against the spread. As far as the money line, nearly 90% of the money, about 85% of the cash is on Kansas City, which is pretty unsurprising. They are favored by 11.5. I think they're -435. What is it? No, we have it at like -435. The market has it -625, which is insanity. I would never bet that. 6-1, they should not be a 6-1 favorite. That's insane. I get it. They own them, pretty regularly, but at the same time, divisional game, and Kansas City did not look good last week. I think there are definitely some places where they can be had, but really it just comes down to if you can confuse Mahomes enough, you can kind of make him make a few mistakes early, maybe you can get a lead, and then it just comes down to, can you execute in the fourth quarter and kind of finish him off? And unfortunately, teams haven't been able to do that. Defenses have been kind of playing a little lackluster in the fourth quarters against them, and they've just been kind of tearing it up against them. Let's see. So it looks like majority of the people have majority of the cash is on the under of this game. which I want to say is a little bit surprising considering the number's only a 54. Like, that's not much for two teams that give up a lot of points. Like, if you look at, obviously they have it at like 82% for them to win. If you look at their points per game alone, so like let's say they just scored their points average of 28 and 29. Right? 57, right? I mean that's just their scoring averages alone. Obviously Chiefs only getting up 17 and a half a game. That's a little bit unrealistic of what they're actually giving up, because if you look here, I mean, they didn't really play New England properly, so that's going to dictate their numbers. They should be over 20 just based upon that fact alone. If they don't play Brian Hoyer, like they probably lose that game to New England if Cam Newton's playing. I would have been shocked. Actually, they most likely would have lost that game. If they would have played the exact same game and Cam Newton played that game, I would be absolutely shocked. I would say that New England was probably like a 3 or 4-1 favorite if you told me that exact same thing happened. Just because of how bad Mahomes played, they confused him enough, it seemed like. Teams are no longer worried about the running game at all. They can't run the ball right now. I mean, they basically just dared them with a 6-man box, and they shut down the running game like it was nothing. It was not like New England completely basically just showed a blueprint on how to stop Mahomes. It's very, very simple. In all honesty, it's just you have to have the personnel to execute. And unfortunately, 99.99% of the teams don't have the personnel. Actually, that's because none of the teams have the personnel. And if you don't have the personnel, they don't have the coaching staff. I would say maybe Buffalo probably has the best chance overall, just because they do have some pretty good corners. They do have a decent pass rush. Their overall defensive scheme is pretty solid, and they can be confusing to teams, so that can play a factor. Also, you combine that with a legitimate offense to be able to keep Mahomes off the field. And I would say if you put those two in an even field right now, I don't know, you'd be hard-pressed not to say that Buffalo may actually win that game, depending upon where that game is being played. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, you got, oh wow, if Ruggs doesn't play, they have no chance of even. They have zero chance. If Trent Brown doesn't play, they're going to be in real trouble. Oh wow, I did not know Ruggs was not playing. Is he really not playing? I have not heard about this. What's going on with you, Ruggies? Questionable. Okay, he practices in full. Okay, so that means Ruggs is going to play. Anytime they practice in full on Friday, it's very rare when they won't play. Very rare. So that's big. But I'm pretty sure I actually did hear news on, I do remember hearing, news on Trent Brown. But if they don't have him, oof, that could be a big deal. Yeah, I think he's gonna play. They're not gonna. Yeah, I should figure that. Yeah, I think he's gonna play. But those are big. That's kind of big news. I would wait to kind of hear that information later. All right, dang, got bet all the way down to 11. Interesting. Man, the Dolphins got... That's unfortunate. So I can't bet the Dolphins anymore because it got moved all the way down to 8 instead of 8.5. And that's a huge deal because you're betting the teaser. That's 14 instead of 14.5, which is a huge... That hook is a huge deal. That's 2 possessions is a win. Oh, that's so frustrating. So it seems like everything got bet down except for the Saints, who got pushed up to 8. But pretty much everything got bet down. That's kind of crazy to me. For some reason on FanDuel, it's +1 for the Colts. I don't know why. That's so weird. Okay, so, man, that is unfortunate. Ooh, that's gonna make the parlay is kind of really hurting, or the teaser's really kind of tricky, right? I mean, if you get the Raiders, you get 17, which isn't bad. I think I have them with 18.5. But yeah, so it just kind of seems like I'm not really liking the way the odds moved. The amount I mean that the odds moved, because yeah, it looks like I got the Raiders. Like, my favorite teaser I have so far going into the week, I bet this I think on Monday, I want to say, was I got Vegas plus 18.5 with the tease. I got the Bengals plus 19.5 with the tease. I got the Giants plus 15.5 with the tease, and I got the Washington football team plus 14.5 with the tease, which is probably the game I'm most worried about. Is probably that Washington 14.5, just because the Rams last week did not play particularly well, so that could be one of those things where they just kind of fall off a little bit and take a step back. And Washington starting a new quarterback. Dwayne Haskins does not play well at the start of the season. But yeah, a lot to think about. Let's see. I think I added for my big teaser. I think I added. Let's see. I took Browns plus 8.5 back when it was them getting 2.5. Back when the Colts were favored by 2.5, which is crazy. So that line moved nearly 3.5 points. It did move. It moved 3.5 points. That's a lot. That's a lot for it to move the opposite way, considering, honestly, the Colts are a better team than Cleveland. Cleveland's played nobody. They're going against the toughest rush defense in football. I mean, something's got to give. One way or another, I would be a little bit surprised if Cleveland could run the ball anywhere near as effectively against the Colts as they have against any team they've played so far this season, because, well, they haven't played anybody. Baltimore was the best team they played, and they got absolutely annihilated. I think Chubb ran for like 60 yards in that game. It's kind of more of what I expect as far as the rushing attack. I think they're more on par. Like, Colts defense, especially their front, is really good. Their front is really good. Their secondary can be had, but their front is ridiculous. I mean, I can go through the numbers right now. Let's just see real quick. You look at the Colts. So, I mean, DeForest is right now, he's like absolutely tearing it. I think he has 15 pressures on the season. He's absolutely destroying. Justin Houston's still playing solid. Their worst player is this Atri guy. He's like a rotational piece, though. What's their base? They run Stewart and Atri. That's so annoying. Those guys are bad. So you can actually run on them to certain sides. That's interesting. Whoa, Walker? Wait, what? Are they missing? Do they have an injury? I wonder if the Colts have an injury to their, because they're, for some reason, PFF's not showing Leonard. I don't believe Leonard's hurt. I would have seen that. I feel like I would have seen that. What the frick? Okay, this is super annoying. Oh, so annoying. I don't know why it's being... This site sucks. Holy cow. Like, just be more worthless, ESPN. You guys need to get your crap together. Okay. What the heck is that game? Wow. So trigger. Oh wow, Darius Leonard is out. Costanzo is out. Oof. I'll be honest, folks. That's big. That's big. That's bigger than any of the injuries to the Cleveland players. Oh, that's big. Because of who they're going up against. It wouldn't matter in a lot of games, but because they're going against Cleveland and their rushing attack, they may actually struggle for the first time to stop the run in this game. Interesting. Man, Xavier Rhodes is having a huge bounce back season. I don't like it, folks. I really don't. I think they may get exposed for the first time. Yeah. I may actually be steering clear of that. Oof. 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 I do not like it at all. Well, it's so tough too because you have essentially the two best offensive lines in football are going against each other. Like if I was rating this, I would say, man, you could go either way, really. I mean, just because of how good Cleveland's offensive line has played so far, I just have to say, I mean, they probably have the slight edge on Indy, especially with no Costanzo. Yeah, I would definitely give the edge there. Plus, they have a pretty good front too. Yeah, I mean, even with Sheldon Richardson not playing up to his potential, it's really tough. Yeah, they have questions at the other cornerback positions, which is what's going to be interesting. But Rivers has not played well to start. And their safeties can be had too. And they give up plays when they go. It's tough. Tough. I don't really know. Which way that's going to go. I would say the edge in weapons goes to Cleveland. The edge in offensive line goes to Cleveland. The edge in quarterback goes to Indy. The edge in running back goes to Cleveland. So basically, edge in skill position players goes to Cleveland. Basically, the only thing they have is a little bit better quarterback. I'd say the fronts are both very similar overall, but without Leonard, I would probably give the edge overall to Cleveland, just barely. But I mean, Buckner's an absolute monster up the gut. He's gonna be a problem for Cleveland. They're gonna definitely have some issues with him. Gosh, I don't like it. Yeah. Oh. I'll have to think about it in that game. Oof. Yeah. So unless you get it for high, obviously now you can't get it for 8.5 because you would not be able to. I'd almost go the other way. I would probably take. So that's Colts +7 with the teaser. I mean that's a lot of points. I mean I'd like to get 7.5. So if you can find it for +1.5 somewhere, I would take that bet in a heartbeat. I would definitely take Colts +7.5 in that respect. So I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I can find one for 1.5 tomorrow, and then that will probably be my bet. But the loss of Costanzo and Darius Leonard really scares me. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I might be avoiding this game actually. I'm probably gonna avoid that game. Alright. I don't know what happened. So a few more I kind of want to look at. This Cardinals Jets game. Oh, guess what? It's Flacco, right? Pretty sure it's gonna be Flacco. Fluco. Shane Falco. What? Shane Falco? Yeah. The great New York Jets. Who are the worst team in football? Going against Arizona, who looks like a trash can right now. It's burnt on fire. um, wow. Yeah, Carolina might, or whatchamacallit, Arizona might have the worst offensive line of football. Wow. I didn't think it was this bad. It's bad, folks. It's really bad. No wonder they can't run the football. Kirk and Fitzgerald are also bottom 15 wide receivers right now. Hopkins is the only guy doing anything. Literally anything. Wow. This may be a game where the Jets might keep it closer than people probably think. And you look at that Carolina defense. Oh my gosh. They don't have a single graded player above 66. Oh my god. That's so bad. Buda Baker is their best player. Oh, Chandler Jones' grade will go up, though. Okay. That's just, wow, is that bad? And then you look at the Jets. Actually, you know what? The Jets have a better roster. Can't believe I'm saying this. The Jets have a better roster. They have a better offensive line. They have, I don't know, actually, they the same offensive line. They both suck. Shane Falco is playing, though, which is super scary. They have no weapons. Crowder is, looks like he might be coming back. That could be big for them. But their defense can definitely be had. I mean, shoot. Ripien just went ham on them last week. That's the one thing. It's like, as bad as Carolina's been playing, or as Arizona's been playing, I'd be a little bit surprised if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't go absolutely off. I feel like he's going to be probably one of the highest ownerships of the weekend of any player on the weekend. Yeah, he should go off against this defense. I don't really like the green. With the Jets plus 7. Outside of Sam Darnold, though, there shouldn't be a huge injury factor. Yeah, Kennard, that would, yeah. Franklin Myers. Oh, Mekhi Becton, they don't have a left tackle either. Ooh. I mean, Arizona should win this game. They have the better quarterback. I feel like, yeah, wow, 80, almost 90% are betting against the spread against the Jets. They think that line is low. I mean, I see that. We do have it at 6.1, but still, like, really, I don't know. I think we need to consider the over, though, here. I think this is one that the over definitely is very likely to hit. These are just two horrible defenses. Unfortunately, the Jets have scored 16 points a game. They've also given up 33, which is horrendous. But as far as the money line, with only 56% of the money being bet on Arizona, that's really weird to me, considering how many people are betting against the spread. Like, you'd think a lot more would just bet against them on the money line. As a maybe, I mean, they're just a 2-1 favorite, 2.5 to 1. Like, you got me. And the market has 3.5 to 1. Yeah, I don't like that. I wouldn't bet that. I usually get my money line bet early if you can. Because they're generally not going to be good on Sundays. Like, not what you want, ideally. Not seeing too much there. But yeah, me personally, I probably would lean toward the Arizona straight up bet along the money line. They should win the game at the very minimum. I don't love any bet though in this game outside of, maybe the over just because it is so low. But man, Flacco's so bad. Like, I don't know, and he may not even like, honestly, he may get injured in the game. Like, he's so bad. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I personally, I would almost recommend avoiding that game for the most part. Oh, it's just blech, blech, blech. Honestly, the Jets might have a better roster than Arizona, at least to how they've played so far. Arizona has not played well. No, they don't because they have DeAndre Hopkins. That's better player than like every single player on the Jets offense. Uh, let's see. That Eagles Steelers game is a really intriguing one. I believe we have a lot of money right here on the Eagles Steelers. Yeah, it's tough. We actually have them. Let's see. Looks like it's pretty much right on at the 7. A little bit surprised that 57% of the money line cash is going to the Eagles, not Pittsburgh. Considering 74% of the people are betting against the spread with Pittsburgh. I don't really understand that. That does not make sense. What people are doing, like, do people really think that the Eagles are going straight up? Because you get the 2-to-1 odds. Is that why people are making the bet? You got me, dude. I don't see that. I don't see Eagles winning this game. If they win this game, I'd be absolutely shocked. I think the Steelers are gonna just absolutely dismantle them. I don't even think I took. Yeah, I haven't taken any bets with the Eagles, especially with how many injuries they have to the offensive line. Like Goddard being out. Like they have nobody. They have no weapons to throw to. They have huge injury questions along the defensive or along the offensive line. I mean, and oh, you combine that with just like the Steelers are just a better team. The only thing is, do they play down at the Eagles' level? That's the thing I worry about. But they're not gonna be able to run the ball. Wentz, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws 2 picks. Like I'm taking the pick prop on Wentz. I'm 100% taking his interception prop. I'm sure it's at 0.5. But I'll be betting that tomorrow 100%. However, it's just not really liking it. Okay. Yeah, I think the only bet here is the Steelers straight up along the money line. I think I put a few of those in a couple parlays, and then you got the -7.5. I don't think they're gonna cover that. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one there. I mean, maybe you could do the teaser, so you bring that 7.5 down to 1.5. But I don't like doing that. If anything, if it's at 7.5, maybe you consider the Eagles plus the 13.5. See with the teas, maybe lean that way, but I don't have that bet. I think I'm avoiding anything outside of, I think the Steelers are going to win this game. And I'd be a little bit surprised. They do have a win probability. What is that? 73%? Yeah, I put that about right. Okay. Let's move on. I don't really like too much going on in that game. You know, if you're looking for some extra players, maybe, I don't know. What's the under in this game? 44. It's one of the lowest of the weekend, which doesn't surprise because the fronts for both those teams are really where the strength lies for both those teams. So that's probably going to be a pretty low scoring affair. Really intrigued by this Rams Washington game. You know, I did get it for the 14.5. At 7, I don't know if I would do it for 13. I don't think that's enough. I want the 14.5. That 1.5 is so big. So big. Oh, man. Let's see. So looking at the injury report, yeah, there's nothing really too big. It looks like 73% of the cash is on LA against the spread. And 81%. Man, why? I guess because people don't like not getting odds. Is that why? That's just crazy to me. Washington is not winning this game. I would be shocked if Washington won this game. I think we have the spread even higher than the 7.5. So that's why it's like, I mean, I like it at 8.5. I think that's where the spread should be, is at 8.5 for this game. I mean, it's just, Washington's not good. Like, they're not good. And they don't have, like, without Chase Young, I don't see them having a big time day. You don't have yeah, no, they're not winning this game. They're just not winning this game. Offense, you know, the 26th ranked offense. Yeah, that sounds about right for Washington. You know, the only way I see Washington even staying in this game is if Jared Goff plays like he did last week, which was not good. I mean, he missed multiple throws. I would be a little bit surprised if that was the case. I expect a bounce back game, and I expect them to win and win pretty convincingly. So we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. But for now, you know, I'm probably going to be staying away from this game now that the odds have kind of shifted a little bit. And I don't like what I've seen from the Rams, although I did make a couple bets on a couple parlays with them just straight up along the money line. That 46 could be interesting, though. I think I'd probably recommend passing more often than not on that game, though. Not a huge fan with the line moving to where it is right now. However, this one, even with a 12-point line, I probably still would take the Bengals. And I got it for, shoot, what did I get? Like 19.5, I think. I want to say I got it for 13.5. When I bet that earlier in the week, and now it's down to 12. Joe Mixon is expected to play, from what I read, as well as Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown. Lamar should play as well. It's more or less going to come down to, can Baltimore rebound? Right? Can they? Because they didn't look great in that Washington game. The loss of Marshall Yanda is legitimate, and I don't expect they're going to be able to run the ball that great in comparison to what they have done all season. I would expect it to be closer to, let's see, what are they at? 160, so probably, yeah, more like 130 in this game there. So isn't that interesting that the Bengals are averaging more yards per game than the Ravens right now? Just because Lamar's passing average at 198 is super low. But they're just not hitting some of those big shots right now, and I expect that to come, and possibly in this game. I wouldn't even be surprised. Marquise Brown, he may be hurting a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if he catches a big pass play. Yeah, so I have it at, man, 18 with the teaser. Honestly, I think they may even win straight up against that 12. I want to say too, like the Ravens. There's like a bunch of crazy stats out there with them, but like they've just not been doing well against the spread, and whereas the Bengals have been doing well against the spread, not only this season but just in, just kind of where we're at. The Bengals are 3-1 against the spread this year. I would not be surprised. Me personally, I am going to be taking that 12 still. But I'm probably going to tease it up to 18. I think that's where I feel a little bit more comfortable. Just, I'll be doing probably a little bit more on the teaser parlays this week. And some other teaser bets, just on straight up bets and stuff. But yeah, I'm not really seeing too much there. As far as the matchup goes, I'm going to look on the bets. Let's see. So looks like, wow, that's a bit surprising. Oh, this is super annoying. I don't know why it's making me do this. Okay, so wow, 58%. It's almost even on the money line with the money being bet, which is so crazy. So crazy. I'm sorry, like Baltimore's gonna win the game, folks. They're gonna win. I'd be surprised. I mean, the Bengals are the 25th ranked offense and 22nd ranked defense, going against a top 3 offense and a top 13 defense. Yeah, just the only thing that can hold them back is the injuries. Ronnie Stanley maybe not playing. That could be big, but I expect him to. So we'll kind of see how that all plays out. Oh, Xavier Fila. I forgot they lost him. Oh, a lot to think about. Lot to think about. Yeah, he's been playing. Man, bro's been playing go. Only 3.3 big time throw percentage, though. But, wow. A 1.89 turnover worthy play percentage is so freaking good for Joe Burrow. Wow. That's so impressive. A rookie to be at 1.89, that's so impressive. Gosh, he's playing so good this year. Yeah, I'm doubling down on the Bengals. Yeah, I'm definitely doubling down. And I may even consider that over at 50.5 too. We have it at over 51.5 right now. So I think I would take the over there. That'll definitely have to be something to look at. And with those injuries too, we have to kind of see how this plays out. Yeah, maybe not actually, because of some of those offenses may struggle a little bit. Yeah, let's go down here to this Texans. Oh gosh, the early stuff with the Texans, just like firing your coach. Yeah, I don't know. That one's going to be another really, really tough one. I think this is a true pick'em game, even though they have it at 5.5. I think it's a pick'em game. I really do. The numbers don't support that. They actually support the Texans, but I would be shocked if this game isn't a last possession, field goal, some craziness, right? So that's why, Jags plus 11.5 on that teaser is looking really interesting. I do have a decent amount already on the Texans bet earlier in the week, but I'm very scared about. I'm not sure what to expect from them offensively. Defensively they can't stop paper bag when it comes to stopping the run. I mean, they're just horrendous at stopping the run. Wow. 181 rushing yards allowed a game. Oh, that's so bad. That is so bad. I mean, Jags aren't any better at 140. Like that's freaking horrendous. Like horrible. At 228, you know why? Because they don't bother throwing the ball against that horrendous defense. It's rush defense. But I think one thing we might have to consider is the under prop on Gardner Minshew. As well, probably as well as. Yeah, I don't know about. No, because no CJ Henderson. That's going to be big. When he went out last week, they really struggled. Yeah, so it's either probably. I'm not a huge fan of the over. I feel like it's got to be more on. Like I'm leaning Texans, but like I don't feel confident in this game. I'm probably gonna avoid most of it and maybe put a little bit on that 11.5 teaser with Jacksonville. That's about all I can do. I really think that's a pick'em game. I really do. Looking at the last few games, or looked at the Colts Browns. This Dolphins, man, moving from 8.5 to 8 is so big for the teaser. That was so depressing. I mean, I do have a pretty good amount on the Dolphins already. Very intrigued, though. San Francisco is going to have a pretty good game. I would be a little bit surprised. I mean, honestly, this game is going to come down to, is it going to be Fitzmagic or is it going to be Fitztragic? Simple as that. If he throws 2 picks in this game, that 14.5 could be in question. If he throws 1 or less picks, I think it's a lock. I really do. I think that their pass defense is just really good. They're going to keep this game. They're going to try to keep everything in front of them. As long as Miami can tackle, which they're a decent tackling team, they should be fine. The under on this game is also something I'm looking at very, very closely. We have, let me see, what do we have the numbers at for? Okay, this is really annoying. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's being stupid. All right. Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, I mean that's where I expect the money line to be. 74% on San Francisco. Wow, though. Man, some of the other ones are really intriguing. And then 50-50 against the spread, which is about what I would expect for this game. So like these numbers make a lot more sense. Some of those other numbers make no sense. Like why in the heck were people betting straight up on some of these like -7s, but like picking the freaking dog on a 2-1? It just the whole thing didn't make sense. Yeah, 51.6. We actually have it slightly over. I'm leaning toward the under. I don't know. They have the market at 51. Yeah, maybe just lay off that actually probably in this game. There's too much to look at. So we really can't, unfortunately. So I'm going to start doing this a little bit earlier in the week for you guys and kind of do a little bit more of a breakdown. Start going into more depth on these games and stuff. We'll start getting more information out to you guys regularly. We probably should cover this one last game real quick in the early slate. This is an intriguing game. Seahawks have been winning against the Vikings a lot, though. So it comes down to this Giants, Cowboys. And I have quite a bit on the Giants already. Especially both against the spread. The issue is they score 11 points a game. I kid you not, they may not score enough points in this game. It may just be that, even though as bad as their defense has been, like New York's offense is just so freaking bad. So bad. It's not like they played like... Okay, let's take that back, actually. They've played 4 of the better defenses in the league. However, I would say the Rams are not that great of a defense. I mean, you're talking Pittsburgh's defense. Okay, I get it. Tough front. Chicago. Okay, I get it. Real good front. San Francisco. Another really, really good front. And then the Rams. Oof. Yeah. I mean, early in the week I was liking it, but I am just a little bit worried about Daniel Jones. Oof. Honestly, I don't know. I don't like that the spread went down so much, too. A lot of people like the Cowboys in this game. I mean, if you look at the betting for this game, it looks like 96% of the moneyline bets are on the Cowboys. But against the spread, 70-30 toward the Cowboys. That makes sense. People think the unders are gonna hit 78% on the under. It's a little surprising, actually. I think that has more to do with the Giants. They really think the Giants suck, but honestly, Giants always play the Cowboys tough, and I'd be really surprised if they don't show up for this game. Being the 29th ranked offense and 26th ranked defense, question mark that. However, I do like the fact that the Giants at least try on defense, unlike the Cowboys. So we'll see. Something's got to give. A team gives up a lot of yards, a lot of points, and a team that doesn't really give up any of that stuff. So, something's got to give here. I honestly, I do kind of like the Giants. Even honestly against the 8.5, I wouldn't be surprised if they cover that too. Looking at the early stuff though, I do recommend if you get the time and you know what you're doing, get on some of these bets early in the week before the odds change, folks. I mean, 3-4 points difference for some of these. Now I know it can be a little bit tricky in figuring out. But majority of my wins, I should say the highest percentage of my wins so far this season have come from my bets made either on Monday, sometimes on Sunday, but generally I'll make my bets on Monday or Tuesday. I would say is probably the latest before the lines really kind of start to move a little bit when they start to get a lot more bets in. That Tuesday. So I generally try to stick to a little bit earlier in the week, get those bets in before those spread lines change, especially if you feel real confident about any particular bet. Now, obviously, it did cost me in some respects, like for instance, last week when I had the New England Patriots plus 13. And then obviously I got screwed over with Cam Newton not playing. So, during COVID time, that can be a little bit of a riskier play. So definitely keep that in mind, but it is definitely recommended if you can get those bets in. Do try to get at least some of those bets in earlier in the week before those odds change, and you should have a little bit more success with that, especially if you're looking for some good teaser odds and you've done a lot of your good research ahead of time. But I do thank you all for listening today, and good luck in week 5 of the NFL season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button so you can check back with us each week for more content and get you guys ready for each week of the NFL season. And good luck to all of you in week 5.